There we go. We'll just piece them together using technology. So in these last few minutes that we have, we're going to talk about how to participate. We covered it a little bit already, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of what participation in the BPP looks like. And then Tronda is going to talk about how to apply to the Jegnaship cohort. So the first thing to do, if you want to be a part of the Jegnaship cohort, is to request a Jegnaship cohort application. And so she's put the link in the chat to the Jegnaship cohort application. So if you're looking at this as a recording and you can't click on the link in the chat because it's a recording, just send us an email at bpp@ciis.edu and we'll send you a link to the Jegnaship cohort application. And she's going to talk a little bit in more detail about what that application looks like in a moment. So you submit the application by October the 1st, and we'll take about a week or so to review the applications and send you an email saying, yes, you are a part of the 2021 BPP Jegnaship cohort. And then we'll schedule the first Jegnaship cohort orientation. So that will happen in probably around the second week or so of October. And then we will have our first workshop later in the month of October. Usually it's on that in the last week of the month. And again, that's going to be what is Black psychology. So attend your very first BPP at CIIS workshop, which will happen again in that last week of October. So that's how you get started with the BPP. And then if you're a part of the Jegnaship cohort, you'll begin to attend our monthly cohort sessions. So we'll meet twice a month if you're in the cohort. So you'll go to the workshop and you'll go to the Jegnaship cohort session. So you'll have 2 sessions a month that you'll participate in. And then you are also invited to attend the monthly chapter meetings. They're all by Zoom of the Bay Area chapter of ABPSI. So those chapter meetings are held on the 3rd Saturday of every month from 10 a.m. to noon. So it's not a requirement, but it is an opportunity for you to become part of ABPSI. And then we also have the Serenity circles that Laneay just did a beautiful job sharing with us. So you're also invited to participate in the Serenity Wellness circles. So those are the main time obligations, if you will, opportunities that folks will have that are specifically a part of the Jegnaship cohort. The Black Psychology chapter in the Bay Area is open to anyone and everyone who would like to attend those as well. And then when you finish the academic year, so we'll start officially in October, and we'll have workshops in October, November, December. January, February is a very special month that we're not going to talk about right now, but it's a very special month of programming. And then we have March and April. So we have 7 workshops basically that run in the series. And then in May, we do our closing ceremony. So if you are part of our greater CIIS community and you've attended the majority of those 7 workshops, so if you've attended 5 out of 7, you will receive an acknowledgement of participation. So we actually send out certificates to folks as they complete this process. And I'm a little bit ashamed to say that I still have some of those certificates here that I still need to mail. Well, technically I mailed them, but when we sent them out, there was a slight little typo. And so these are the replacement ones that I still have that I need to send out to our Jegnaship cohort participants, and they receive a certificate of completion. So if you're a part of the Jegnaship cohort, you get a beautiful hard copy certificate of completion sent to you along with a wonderful gift. And I'm not going to share what that gift is, but it's a really, really special gift. And if you're a part of the greater CIIS community, you receive an electronic acknowledgement of participation certificate as well. And you can include those in your CV, you can frame it, put it up on your wall, all of those wonderful things. So that's basically the Black Psychology program. So Tronda, do you want to talk about the application process? So I'll stop my screen share.
All right, folks. So I put the link in the chat, but I'm also going to make sure that everyone who registered for this event get the link to the application. I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to go to the link. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the application. And information about the Jegnaship cohort. So this is just for the cohort. You don't have to complete an application to attend the workshops and to be a part of the workshop series. This is specifically for the CIIS students who wants to participate in the leadership component of the BPP. And so I have here the application. I have I have October 8th, but it should be the 1st. And it's still a Friday. So I'm gonna go in there and change that before I send it out to everyone. We're gonna receive notification, or you're gonna receive notification of participation by the 15th
Yep.
of October.
Mhm.
And then you're going to attend an orientation, a Jegnaship cohort orientation. And then of course, the first workshop is going to be October 28th. That's a Thursday at 4 Pacific Standard Time. So I'll make sure everyone gets the application, they complete it digitally, and we get it back, and we can move forward with it there, with an expectation that you'll be at the orientation. So the form is just showing us a few questions about your status as a student. We're going to need your complete demographic information, and then it's going to ask you several questions about your contribution to the Jegnaship cohort, what you seek to give, and what you also seek to receive from participating. It is a give and take, it is reciprocity, and it's just going to be a lot of fun, loads of fun, and so much growth and wisdom sharing, knowledge sharing. So are there any questions about the application process or even moving forward with this at this point?
Go ahead. I see hands.
Luna, are you speaking? We can't hear you. I see your mouth moving. We'll come back to you. How about you, Radia? You still on mute.
Can you hear? There we go. Hi, everyone. Greetings. Thank you for this introduction to your cohort. I am in the Transformational Studies PhD program, and I'm unfamiliar with the language of Jegnaship. I love how it sounds. And I wonder, Adeeba, Dr. D, is this part of your research, or is this an African term that exists inside of the world, or only in the world of psychology? And I just would like to know a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yes. So yes and yes and yes. So it is part of my research. Absolutely, is centered to my dissertation work and to my life, my lived experience. It came to me through my affiliation with ABSI. It's actually Dr. Wade Nobles and Dr. Asa Hilliard introduced the construct of Jegna to us. They were looking for an African perspective on this thing called mentorship. I was talking to Tronda earlier, I think it was her today, then, and I was saying that no matter what space I go in, the first thing I do is ask, where are the Black people? And so, so that was the first question that they asked, where's the Black people? What do we as the first people on this planet have to say about fill in the blank subject? And so from that training and being one of his Jegnees, I always ask myself that question. And so Dr. Nobles and Hilliard said, what do African people have to say about how we transfer knowledge to each other generationally to generationally? And so there was a scholar out of UC Berkeley that introduced them to the construct of Jegna that comes out of Ethiopian culture. And it's a warrior energy, one who has steadfastness to defend their people, place, and culture, one who does exemplary work, someone who is a warrior, for a scholar that is humble and is walking the path of wisdom and knowledge and is exchanging in that knowledge transfer. So there's basically 5 attributes that Dr. Nobles identified that a Jegna is. And so that process became a way in which the Association of Black Psychologists structured how we engage with our student population within AB CIIS through this construct called Jegnaship or Jegna-ing. And so there's a number of people, not a lot, there's actually very little scholarly research that has been done on the term itself and on the practice of Jegnaship. And so the work that I did as part of my dissertation very much centers the praxis of Jegnaship. And it really comes out of my own lived experience of doing an examination of those times in my life where I was disconnected and was experiencing unwellness and disconnection and unwellness. And the pattern that I noticed became Sankofa praxis. I realized that as long as, and I have my calabash here, let me see if I can get it off the table. I have it sort of glued down to the table. So this is my actual calabash that was created for me by a sister out of Oakland. She lives here in Sacramento now. So it's an actual calabash that was grown in West Oakland, and she's a carver. And so she grew the calabash and she carved these symbols on it for me. So this is the symbolic representation of my middle name, Dewanaman. And then this is a representation of the construct of Sankofa praxis. And so the notion of the divine calabash, that we are all a part of the divine calabash, is also a part of Dr. Noble's work. And so what I came to realize, as long as I stayed within my calabash of Jegnaship, that I was healthy and whole, and I experienced psychospiritual wellness, alignment, and I was able to fully actualize my sense of beingness as an African person in the world. And so Jegnaship is the calabash in which I sit in and try to stay in as much as I can. And so I'm bringing that concept and practice to CIIS through the Jegnaship cohort. So that was probably more than what you asked for, but I just couldn't help myself because I got a pretty calabash that was made just for me, and I love it.
I love it.
That's exactly what I wanted. You could have gone, that was exactly what I wanted. And I so appreciate that. And listening to you and now hearing Dr. Nobles in Ethiopia and, the container of the calabash and that this is what you're giving to the students. I hear students and I think of kids, but I have to remind myself students means us here. But I love that. And you wrote a dissertation, so I don't have to say to you, you should write that down. But I'm thinking, like, have you written a couple of paragraphs? Okay. A couple of paragraphs for the staff here?
Yeah. I've done
CIIS?
presentations. Yeah, I've done presentations specifically on Jegnaship. There's a recording of one in the Center for Writing and Scholarship. We did a whole session on the concept of Jegnaship. And so if you go on the Center for Writing and Scholarship, you can find that video. If you search for me on YouTube, there's one that I did for a Manger community for their Summer Institute. And it's specifically talking about Jegnaship. And I go into a lot of detail around Jegnaship on that one as well.
Oh, thank you so much. And hope I didn't take too much time up, but I needed that grounding. So appreciate it. Ashe.
Okay, Luna, you still have your question? We still can't hear you. You want to put it in the chat? We can't hear you. Okay. Are there any other questions regarding the Jegnaship cohort and the application process? Okay, and I'll follow up with some folks. I know we had quite a few people drop off.
Mhm. Well, that's all we have. So that is our information on the BPP at CIIS. So yeah, that is our presentation. And again, this will be uploaded to the Google Classroom space, and we'll probably send it out and post it in various places. So feel free to, once we have the recording, to share it. And we'll, send out an email announcing that the application is open and available for folks to participate in. Once the cohort closes, once we have our first info session. So even if you missed our orientation session, so even if you missed this information session and you apply, and as long as we're able to, before our first cohort orientation session, bring you in, and so that you can attend that orientation. Once that happens, then the cohort is closed. Again, the workshops run throughout the academic year, but we close the cohort at the orientation because that we have formed community and at that moment. And so the calabash is closed at that point. And so there is still time. You don't have to do it today, but we want you to do it today. But once we get to the orientation for the Jegnaship cohort, we do close the calabash at that point. So yeah, so that's all I have. We can put some music on and we can dance our way out.
Adeeba,
Any final thoughts? Yes.
if I can hold the committee a minute, we have an identified time for the circles.
You do.
You should probably stop recording, and everybody, I need to go. I'm sorry.
Before I just paused it while she was stepping off, because we do have our closing ritual to officially close out the info session. And so Tronda is gonna lead us in our closing ritual. And then I'll just play some music to shut it all down.
Yes.
So Tronda, can you close this out?
Yes, I'll close out. I release the ancestors that were called forth in the beginning during libation. And just to remind everyone that every ending is a beginning. We take the wisdom of the Creator and the ancestors that we have poured out libation earlier for, and honor them in continuance. In order to complete that which is incomplete, that is our responsibility, that is our role. We shall close this session, but not our heart and not our mind. We shall part today, but always remembering those who have come before us. We shall remain inspired to do the work today, as we are the ones here in the present. And it's our responsibility to prepare those who are not yet born for the journey ahead. So I'm hoping that this information session was beneficial to you. And I'm also hoping that we have pleased the ancestors and what we have done today, and that we are mirroring the good that they have did when their hearts were still beating. And we are here to continue the work to complete what is incomplete. So I thank you all for showing up and for coming. And Ashe.
Ashe, Ashe.
Look at Laneay with the shimmy.
You gotta hit him with the shoulders.
I'm telling you, I was like, I love to see the shoulders go up and down.